Martin Evans, what's up? Okay, we're unmuted. That wasn't a mute, sir. That was a preference setting deep inside of Podcast Console by Universal Audio. Sounds dirty, but it's not. I mean, it's not that dirty. It's really not that dirty. All right, guys, in 3, 2, and 1. Hello, everyone. How are you? I've had a baller day of writing today. Let's see. 4,200 words written today. It's quite spectacular, actually. It boggles the scientific ability to analyze it in many, many ways. And yet, that's what I did all before 2 o'clock today. So I think A and I will do next time we have a show where I'm not doing a live read. I'll go over my new system for fooling my ADHD. You can't beat it. But you can trick it. Which, makes it very humanish at all. Yes, well, no, generally, I did repeat the word no a few times. And also, there were several periods, those were repeated as well. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, 17 seconds. Let's see, how are we doing? We got 12 on the face. We got people coming in. I think the lack of sound made people depart for a few moments. Hello, Lisa. Matt McRoberts is making a joke. Very nice. Very nice. Let's get rid of that. Time to party, as they say. Let's test the Shwarmy sound. Not bad, Hamilton. Not bad. Christine McCullough, you're putting in YouTube with question marks. I have no idea what that means. Whoops. That was a double Shwarmy sound for you guys. This is pretty cool. Let me adjust this mic one instant here. With a black t-shirt, the mic goes away. I would love to claim credit for that. My wife figured that out. If we wear black, you can't see the microphone. It's kind of neat. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. This will also take a brief second to dial in. Been troubleshooting technical problems, man. That looks like the right speed. Okay. Now, let me go back and check our broadcast, make sure everything is okay for one last uno momento, por favor. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. Appreciate you waiting through the technical issues. And now, I'm going to read to your face. Here we go. Okay. First of all, for those of you who are imbibing, cheers. Love you. Thanks for hanging out tonight. Let's read some fiction, ladies and gentlemen. Let's read some fiction. Recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slay episode number 8. This one is entitled, Do You Even Read, Bro? And you'll see why once we get into it. I start out with the story so far, and then we dive right into a very melodramatic moment. And here we go. Sorry, get the speed right. Previously on Slay. Callista ordered Lincoln to kill Ariella Goldsmith, a lawyer. To keep his son safe, Lincoln had no choice but to comply. He had his hands full when Ariella fought back hard with powerful magic. I don't know if you guys can hear that jet that's going overhead. We're just going to pause and take that again. Sorry. That's how you see my sausage. Let's go for it again. More. Can you hear that jet, babe? We're very near an airport, you guys. All right. And we're going with or without the jet. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Slay episode number 8. This one is entitled, Do You Even Read, Bro? And we'll find out why once we get rolling in the story. Let me get you caught up on the story so far, and then we're going to go straight into the fiction. Previously on Slay. Callista ordered Lincoln to kill Ariella Goldsmith, a lawyer. To keep his son safe, Lincoln had no choice but to comply. He had his hands full when Ariella fought back hard with powerful magic. Just as Lincoln was about to finish the job and bury a hatchet blade in her skull, she blurted out that she could get Lincoln's son. She blurted out that she could get Lincoln out of his contract with Callista. Ariella told Lincoln she knew how to save his son. That claim bought her 10 minutes of life. And now, in episode 8, we find out if her words will buy her many minutes more. What a difference 20 minutes can make. This woman had sicked a bookshelf golem on him. He'd almost cleaved her head in two. And now, 20 minutes later, they were sipping tea and talking about legal shit. So, that's how it's done, Ariella said. Her eyes flicked to his pistol. He'd left the Keltac on the table, a quiet reminder to her of what he'd been sent here to do. It sat next to the legal pad Ariella had used to outline what she knew. Yes, an actual legal pad, now covered with notes written inside scrawled squares and rectangles, lines with arrows drawn between them. So that's it? Ariella nodded. That's it. Lincoln pulled the pad closer, studied the sketched flowchart. Sure, he must have missed something. So I commit to giving Callista a hoarded treasure over the next year, and I'm out of the contract? But during that year, she still has to protect my son? Might be 18 months to 2 years, Ariella said. It depends on the significance of the treasure obtained and when we give it to her. But basically, yeah. You get out of that shitty deal you made, and she's obligated to continue protecting Sam. He kept staring at the flowchart, but he wasn't focusing on it anymore. It might as well have been random smudges and smears. All the things I've had to do for Callista. It can't be this simple to get out of it. Ariella laughed. She picked up her mug of tea, leaned back. Simple? We're talking a lot of treasure, Lincoln. Old school monster movie horde kind of stuff. How could he have left his son on the shelf all this time? How could he have not known about this? Look, I get we need a ton of treasure, Lincoln said. I didn't realize there was a legal way out of this. Ariella leaned forward. When you signed the contract with Callista, did you read the fine print? He stared at the pad, seeing it and not seeing it. Lincoln, did you read any of it? His eyes met hers. I skimmed it. Ariella lowered her mug to the table. You signed a contract in your own blood, a contract to keep your only child safe from unfathomable nightmares, and you didn't read it? Did you at least have a lawyer look at it? His lack of response was all the answer she needed. Sure, in retrospect, what she said seemed obvious. But he hadn't thought about it at the time. You, Lincoln Franks, are a grade A dumbass. You know what you need? A malicious smile teased his mouth, and he didn't bother to hide it. This grade A dumbass needs to finish the job he was sent here to do? A touch of fear returned to Ariella's eyes. No. She took a sip of tea. What you need is a partner. Ariella had told him a way out of his contract with Callista. In short, she'd said exactly the thing Lincoln most wanted to hear. Not that long ago, it had been Callista telling him exactly what he'd wanted to hear. And how had that worked out? No matter how tasty the bait, a trap is still a trap. He sniffed deeply, once again taking in Ariella's scent. She smelled faintly of cherry blossoms, her perfume, but also of the things she'd done in her life. She smelled of ambition, of arrogance, and of more than a little conceit. She smelled of someone who crushed other people. Not in a physical way, though. She did the battle of the intellectual variety, and in that particular ring, she took no prisoners. But she did not smell of murder, and she did not smell of hatred. Yes, she smelled of wickedness, but not of the violent sort, not of thievery or betrayal. Her wickedness was a sick glee she felt when she defeated enemies who pitted their brains against hers. In short, She smelled pretty much like every other lawyer in existence. I have to make a phone call, Lincoln said. Ariella stood. I understand. I'll go ahead and give you some privacy. Lincoln tapped a finger on the Keltec. Ariella swallowed. What I mean to say is, I'll just go ahead and sit back down. From his cloak, he pulled out a cell phone. It was a burner. He went through them like popcorn. He would have used a sphere, but that could be even more traceable than a terrestrial signal, and he didn't want to draw a world of shit down on someone who had done nothing wrong. There were 2 rings, then there was an answer. Link, Patrick Cantrell said. Did you change your mind? Oh, you want the caboodle and camping after all. Oh, wait, or did you decide you want back in the Bastion? Because I can... Shut up, Lincoln said. I'm never going back to the Bastion. I need you to answer a question. A pause. Sure, Link. What's another favor between us? Have you ever heard of a lawyer named Ariella Goldsmith? A longer pause. You're asking this because I take it you haven't heard of her? I don't spend my time reading law blogs or watching true crime shit, if that's what you're asking. I suppose not, Patrick said. Because if you did either, or bothered to know anything at all in the bounty hunting business other than how to kill things, you would have heard of her. She's a legal rock star, Lincoln. A real bad boy of the trade. Or bad girl. Heck, I don't know how she identifies. What I do know is, if I have a case opposite hers, I'm going to settle for whatever she wants to avoid going into a courtroom against her. That's up here on the surface, or a commonality case down in the patchwork. Patrick Cantrell was no coward. If he freely admitted he wouldn't square off against Ariella in court, that spoke volumes. All right, so if this Goldsmith says she can get me out of a contract with Callista, you think she can do it? The longest pause yet. So long, Lincoln almost asked if Patrick was still there. Lincoln, are you making a deal with Ariella Goldsmith? Just answer the question, Lincoln said. Well, what's wrong with my firm? Would your firm take on Callista? No, Patrick said. Not a chance. Then answer my question. He heard Patrick draw a big breath, sensed the man was about to deliver information he'd rather not divulge at all. If anyone can get you out of that contract, it's Ariella Goldsmith. But listen, Lincoln, Lincoln hung up. He'd almost made up his mind. All Patrick would do was introduce doubt to that decision. Lincoln put the phone away. All right, lawyer lady, tell me how we work as partners. It's simple, Ariella said. I find the clients that pay what we need them to pay, as in with treasure, magic items, historical relics, legendary weapons, cursed or blessed objects, that kind of thing. I negotiate a price, you do the job. We receive the treasure. I keep Callista pinned down with legal maneuverings to make sure Sam stays safe until we finish paying what's owed in the contract. She was so smug, so full of knowledge. You're asking me to take a huge leap of faith, Lincoln said. I'm not so good with faith. Is that why you bailed on the Bastion? She knew about that? Hell, everyone did, probably. That was one of the reasons. I would love to hear the rest. Well, you won't, Lincoln said. These jobs you want me to do, I won't kill innocents. And what was my crime exactly? Ariella took a sip of tea. What did I do to deserve death? He looked away from her. Answer me, Lincoln. He forced himself to meet her gaze. Don't push your luck, lady. You had no idea if I was innocent or not when you came in here, right? A lie sprung to his lips. She already knew the truth. No, he said. I didn't know. So you will kill innocents? It's important for me to know what to put in our business plan. She was starting to piss him off. I won't kill innocents, he said. It was a mistake to come here. I won't take this kind of job again. It's part of why I'm making this deal with you. Ariella nodded. I'm glad to hear it. If you would kill innocents for money, I wouldn't work with you. I give you my word that everyone you kill has it coming and then some. I can get you that treasure. I can free your son, but it'll take a while. In return, you take the jobs I give you. Agreed?" Lincoln reached out, absently turned his mug on the table. "Always killing," he said. "Why is it me always killing something?" "Lincoln, are you a good trombone player?" The non sequitur caught him off guard. "Trombone? I don't play trombone." "Which means you aren't a good trombone player. If you were, people would ask you to play trombone. You're good at killing, so I'm asking you to kill. You're either going to do it for me or you're going to do it for Callista. What's it going to be?" Lincoln Franks knew he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, but he wasn't dull either. Choosing this path put Sam at risk. A gamble beyond compare. But if Lincoln could get Sam off the shelf, away from a temporary, oh-so-fragile bubble of safety set deep in a roiling sea of agony and horror, he had to roll the dice. He had to. "Fuck it, I'm in," he said. "Good. I'll draw up the paperwork. We'll file this with the commonality. Terrestrial law doesn't really cover our deal." The commonality was the broader legal organization of the patchwork. Each religious territory in the patchwork had its own set of laws, but those laws varied wildly. A binding contract in Olam Haba wouldn't hold a thimble of water in Valhalla. For legal structures that could be enforced across all the patchwork, you had to deal with the commonality. "All right, I'll be waiting," Lincoln said. "So where are you going to go next?" Ariella leaned back, considering. "I might see if I can score an invite to the masquerade ball. Bilderberg Club is hosting it this year. A lot of powerful people there. Rich people. The kind of people who hoard treasure and need jobs done. If you and I are working together, I can..." No. Not the business version of where you're going next. I mean the literal version. As in, you can't stay here anymore. "Why not?" Lincoln's eyebrows rose. "You're fucking with me, right?" Ariella looked perplexed. "Are you fucking with me by asking if I'm fucking with you?" Four hells. Could someone so smart really be this oblivious? "Callista wants you dead," Lincoln said. "The second she realizes I didn't kill you, she's going to put a contract on your head. She gave me this address. You'll have every two-bit bounty hunter coming here to take you out. And the good hunters as well. You heard of Boss Hogg or Finish the Job Johnson?" Ariella nodded, slowly, her eyes wide with realization. "Yes," she said. "I've heard of those people." "Guys like them," Lincoln said. "Them and others. Once word gets out I'm not doing Callista's bidding, there will be a line of killers around the block, people who want to take my place as their go-to guy." Until that moment, Ariella had mostly been the picture of confidence. Yes, Lincoln had almost killed her, but as soon as violence shifted to conversation, she became the hunter rather than the hunted. Lincoln had felt the shift, had known he was caught in a predator's gaze. When Ariella Goldsmith understood what was happening, she was a tiger. When she came across new information, particularly of the "you're going to die a horrible death" variety, she was a scared lamb. "I don't know where to go," she said. "Europe, maybe?" "Do you have an unmarked account somewhere? You have money that's not attached to your name? Or the name... Boom. Do you have an unmarked account somewhere? You have money that's not attached to your name or the name of any former business of yours?" Her eyes widened further. "They can find me if I spend money?" Not just a scared lamb, a naive one, too. "Of course they can," Lincoln said. "Any withdrawal, any credit card use, any credit check, and bounty hunters will know where you are within days. You have some gold stashed away? Maybe some gems?" Ariella nodded. "I have some." "Then take everything you have and get to the island," Lincoln said. "I know a guy there who can act as an intermediary. He'll take your gold, then use his own to rent you the place. Buy you some food. He'll set you up with a nice hidey hole." The gold she had might carry a touch of her essence. Good hunters had ways of tracking that, just as they had ways of tracking normal monetary transactions. Swapping out her gold would buy her some time. "I can't go to the island," she said. "Why?" "People there want me dead." Lincoln frowned. "Which people?" Ariella said nothing. "Not just Callista," Lincoln said. "Other people want you dead too?" Ariella nodded. "Who?" "That's not your concern," she said. This woman was bad news. Bad with a capital B. And also a capital A, D, N, E, W, and S. "You need to tell me who's after you and why," Lincoln said. "You can't possibly expect me to work with you, side by side, when there are unknown enlightened who want you waxed so bad that you won't even consider going to the island. Who is it, lady?" Ariella's eyes narrowed. Her expression changed. Exit lamb, enter lion. "I expect you will do whatever it takes to save your son," she said. "Just knowing about the treasure payoff isn't enough, Lincoln. You need to know how to manage the contract, handle payments and delivery, and, most of all, to find the people willing to pay what you need for the jobs you can do." "So I'll find another lawyer," Lincoln said. Ariella smirked. "You better have unquenchable and utterly reliable faith in whoever you choose. Once you start down that path, one wrong legal step means Callista can drop protection of Samuel." Ariella shrugged. "Or you can walk away from me, not pursue the path that will set your son free, and go back to being Callista's little murder bitch until Sam turns 18, is set free, and he hates your stinking guts for leaving him there to rot for 12 years. You're in the power position, Mr. Man in Gray. You decide." 4 hells, but she was arrogant. The smartest girl in the class, making sure everyone else knew she was smarter than them. But it wasn't an act. Ariella Goldsmith was smart. Smarter than Lincoln by far. Just one short conversation had educated his ass on that particular topic. Sam could stay on the shelf for 8 more years. How many people would Lincoln have to kill during that time? And what if he got killed himself? What would happen to Samuel then? The smartest girl in class was right. "I'll do it," Lincoln said. "I'll go into business with you." Ariella smiled a smile meant to look cocky, but it couldn't hide her relief. She understood that, now, her life was forfeit without his protection. "Great," she said. "Well, if I can't stay here, do you have any suggestions? Any place they can't find me?" With a sinking feeling, Lincoln realized he did know of such a place. The only place, in fact. "You'll have to come live with me for a while," he said, "until I can figure something else out." With that, Ariella seemed to finally realize her position, to truly own it. "Thank you," she said. Lincoln nodded. "That's the cost of doing business." Her smirk returned. "I'm sure it is," she said. "But if you think you're going to come on to me at some point and we'll become lovers, it's not going to happen." Lincoln laughed. Did she think he lived in some swank penthouse with silk sheets where women came to be seduced? Maybe she did. She'd get a dose of reality soon enough. "Don't flatter yourself," he said. "You're too damn skinny." And she was too damn skinny. The woman needed a sandwich, or 10. "I need a little time to close up shop," she said, "to figure out what I need to bring with." "You don't have time, lady. Pack a suitcase. 1 suitcase. And make it fast. To be safe, we need to get back to my place before daybreak, which means you got about 30 minutes before we leave." He expected her to argue with him, to demand more time, but she didn't. Ariella knew the score. When it came to legal matters, he would listen to her. In the don't get your head cut off and stuffed into a rune box matters, she would listen to him. "I'll be ready in 30, she said. That's enough time to pack my bathroom bag and maybe a few other necessities. Bathroom? They did have 30 minutes. Does your shower work? Ariella stood. Of course my shower works. Why? Can I use it real quick? She stared for a moment. Am I to gather that where you live, where you were taking me to live, the place does not have a working shower? Damn, you're quick, Lincoln said. You should be a lawyer or something. Ariella rubbed at her face. Fine, use my shower. If it makes you smell less like spoiled cheese Danish, I'm all in. Spoiled cheese Danish? That was harsh. Oh well, she would know what it was like to stink soon enough. I'll leave the door open a crack, he said. If anyone comes for you while I'm showering, just scream. With that, Lincoln headed off to take his first shower in more than a week. Magda would be jealous, but hell, her anger at that would be nothing compared to how pissed she would be when Lincoln walked in with a new roommate. That is episode number 8. Hope you come back for the next episode, which will be episode number 9. That's how it works. 8, then 9. Later, Gators. And scene! I only say later, Gators, because that's for the YouTube clip we'll put on eventually. But, let's get some headphones. Love of my life, feel free to come upstairs and join me. Ladies and gentlemen. That was pretty fun. I enjoyed that. We had a ton of technical problems, so my accents were off. Usually I spend about 15 minutes working on those right before the episode, but we didn't even know we'd have chat. It was a shit show. Cheers. Hey, buddy. Hey, guy. Danny Lundy in the house. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Ariel girl herself is shit. Oh, I see what I'm doing wrong. Hold on. I got it right. Boom. Ariel girl herself is making her way upstairs. She even has a necklace now that says Ariel girl herself. Dun, 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 dun. We need some, you know what I need? I need some canned applause and a theme song for Ace. So when she comes in, it's like, like a sitcom. Like a sitcom. And then you got to come up to the camera and do one of these.
I'm going to set that here and get my stuff together. My goodness, it's very warm in this room.
Daniel Baker, Dr. Dominic, PhD. I do not know if there's a Roscoe yet, but there will be a Boss Hog, and there will be Finish the Job Johnson, which I think is going to be the character that walks away out of this whole. He's going to steal the whole show while he's around. All right, baby girl, let's get you mained up. Look at that. I didn't F with the color this time. It turned out okay.
Can I have mine unmuted?
Yeah, damn it. Let's get you unmuted. Hold on one second.
How are you guys?
Coo, 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 coo.
That sounded a little bit like...
Can't wait for Mandalorian Season 3. Love Mandalorian Season 1 and 2. Huge fan of it. Looking forward to Season 3.
And before you ask, we have not yet started Boba Fett. No spoilers.
Hey, Modine. Yes, no spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers. Ladies and gentlemen, we are halfway through. We're at the bottom of the hour. We're going to have traffic on the ones. We are going to now get...
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Christine, I can't... So we both sit on these same chairs. That's the only way we actually both fit. He's got an office chair, like during his... This is his office, so his normal work chair is a good chair, and my work chair is also a good chair. But the only way that we both fit on camera is he's also sitting in a folding chair. But we've got orange cushions, so it's very nice.
We got orange cushions. So... It's been an incredibly busy week. We're working on one project we're not going to mention just yet. Both of us are working on it, and it took up a huge amount of time. I also had to bring out my angry face. Which I don't like to do, because everyone knows I'm the sweetest faced person in the entire... Watch, I'll show you. Hold on. Here we go.
Wait,
I'm a sweet face. Yeah, babe.
Can I tell them about the project that we were doing over the weekend on Sunday outside at Magic Hour?
Yeah.
Okay, so he happened to mention his angry face. We're working on taking new author headshots for him. And so I am going out, we're going outside because it's easier to get a fuzzy or fuzzable background, and natural light at Magic Hour is perfect. And so we go out in our neighborhood, and people are probably like, what are with those crazy humans? What are they doing? Because I follow him around, and I'm using Portrait on the Apple phones.
Hey, Mick J. Plays.
So it's always sort of the same setup, and he's doing the same thing, I'm like, move your chin, but don't move your eyes,
Hey,
And
Brillo.
the thing that, hey, dude, you made it. And the thing that makes me laugh every time is he can't smile a tiny bit.
This is my smile. Wait.
And I can make him naturally smile, but then his eyes crinkle up and everything else. So I'm like, all right, blah, 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 and he does that, and then his eyes are resting, and then I'm like, do a little smirk, and he does this. And then he does that. So if we ever get a new author photo where he looks like him, it'll have been after like 600 different shots.
We got a question about The Crypt. Is there a release date for Shakedown Book 1 of The Crypt? The answer is no, we do not have a release date yet. We do know that the impeccable, incomparable Ray Porter will soon begin recording that girthy tome, which also might, frankly, we're doing that might be the last of my girthy tomes, you guys. We might got girth, might be, we'll see it. We'll see how it goes. But we're working on not being quite so girthy, a little thinner on the pizza crust, you know.
And we won't talk too much about this here, but part of the reason for that is the New World Order is us doing print on demand, and different venues have a size limit. For example, there's one printer on Earth who can print Mount Fitzroy because it's that girthy.
Yeah, we had a big problem with that.
And that actually takes away accessibility for like places around, like doing POD around the world and stuff like that. So writing in a smaller size, but just as many words, just more volumes, will make it easier to get that done, I think.
Your friend, Dr. Danny Baker, the PhD, in the chat room says, just give Scott an edible. You'll have a picture of him smiling in like 10 minutes. That's an excellent bit of advice,
actually, really excellent advice. But then I also have to have his eyes open. So that's the thing.
I don't care. I don't care.
I care.
We've had the same author photo for me. No, we've got a new one.
Yeah, we have the one that Joan Allen took.
Yeah,
that's not all that old. That's
not all that
old.
Okay.
5 or 6 years.
But you know, things change. So we're busy with that. We are busy with the project. We'll talk about, I believe, probably next week. We'll talk about this project. It's fun. And then of course, been writing my tiny little nads off, and it's been very, very busy. And then we got hit with some technical issues this time. So that's the way it goes. But we do have one. We're gonna go questions in a minute. We have one junkie pick to show you in a minute. I'm gonna need.
We do. Yeah, this is so fun.
And this is great. This is a confluence of the Siglerverse all in one fell swoop. Behold, the Generations trilogy symbols in Kraken's orange and black. Also, those nails. I should have a character with nails that pointy. I believe I will in Slay. There'll be several.
And you guys, of course, know that. Well, you may not know. At Siglerfest, a lot of the women who went to Siglerfest did their nails like this. Had a professional do their nails like this, and special paints and special techniques and stuff.
Nico!
And so each Siglerfest, there is a group photo taken by the incomparable Bruce Press of all the fun junky nails that were all orange and black. And there's a couple of years where it's not just people who present as female, but a couple other hands in there too. It's really, really nice. So this is sort of a throwback to that as well.
Yep, pretty cool. All right. So because we've been so busy, we don't have a lot of the normal treats for you guys. Also, we are heading to San Jose tomorrow to go watch a performance by Stephen King. Not the writer Stephen King, the actor Stephen King, who many of you may know as the incomparable Brian Clouser in the Blue Balls series.
The word of the day. I think we've both
I've done
used
incomparable twice. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right.
I think it's incomparable. Both work, either way.
But we're taking a trip to that, and then we're going to go to a Super Bowl party. So as of tomorrow morning, it's technically a couple days off, but I got writing to do. So there's a lot of travel time, stuff like that.
Stephen, it's super exciting. Stephen, this is his first show since the pandemic started, and it's Picasso at the La Penagile, which is super fun. And I don't know what I know about which role he's in, so I'll just call it there. It's really exciting, though. I'm excited that we're getting out.
It's going to be very fun. We haven't traveled a whole lot since COVID hit. This is probably our second or third
get my
trip.
Hamster bubble out.
Yeah, we'll get the hamster. You guys remember the Bubble Boy? Remember John Travolta? We're going way back now.
Yeah,
That's
way
going
back.
way, way, way back.
I think it was called The Boy in the Bubble.
Estimable.
Exactly.
Estimable. All right. Do you have some questions lined up, doll?
I do.
I think that's about it. That's all we have for this week.
I do. You guys, if you have any questions, let me know. I am
thoughts on the story. You may email those to info@emptyset. Whatever your thoughts are on Slay, you like it, you don't like it, I'd like to see more of this kind of a thing here. Where is this thread going? Feel free to send all that into an info@emptyset. That comes to that gets bounced over to me, and then we will we'll go from there. But for now, it's time for questions. Oh, we've got questions, comments, and questions, and you can even ask me in Schitt's Creek. We got some questions, and that's why it's awesome. Yeah, boom, boom.
So we have a ton of writerly questions that have come in. So I'm going to ask a couple of those,
right.
and then I'll intersperse with specific to your character's questions.
Let's go.
One of my favorite ones that I have gotten in the last handful of weeks is there anything that you remember having, for one reason or another, to edit out of a story that you wish you could use, you did reuse, or you want to reuse?
One of the ones that made me the maddest was when I wrote Pandemic, I tried to name the president
Vanessa
Cockburn, which was an actual junkie. And she had gone through the same process we used back then. Back then it was like we had the OJ points and everything in the old site. So if you signed up, you could be named in a character, named as character in a story. So I made her the President of the United States, Vanessa Cockburn. And the Shiv over at Random House is like, no fucking way. Done. Full stop. Usually he would say, you can't do this. And I'm like, all right, let's discuss this. Let's argue about this. I'm going to do what I want to do anyways. And it was about a 50-50 win rate on that.
Yeah, that was a good relationship.
He is a really sharp guy. And the points he brought up were not to be easily dismissed. You know, he's like a Ariella Goldsmith, if you will, really sharp guy. But he just like flat out, it was the only time I saw him, he was like, that's not going in this book. I'm like, but that's a real person. He's like, that's not going in this book. But what about, that's not going in this book. And I was like, sniff the air. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to win this book.
And is that, I think that was also, or was it, I think it was Contagious actually, that had a line where I think
oh my
Dew
God.
somebody says.
Mick J plays with the old school fucking trivia. Way to go. Check in the chat room. Go ahead.
He says, somebody, I think it was Dew, says something like, yeah, and you wouldn't like him when he's angry.
Yep.
And I loved it because I had just the moment that started it all, I had just read Infected, and then I bought the paperback for Infected, and it came with 50 pages of Contagious at the back of it. And in those 50 pages, the you wouldn't like him when he's angry was in there, and then it's not in the book, and I was mad, and I sent him an email about it. I was like, why then? He was like, yeah, I lost that battle.
Yeah, there was a couple things. Like, I believe You Wouldn't Like Me Because I'm Angry. They were concerned about copyright, a copyright strike, if you will. Is not what they're concerned about, a lawsuit. I believe Marvel suing them because we used a line from the
Bill Bixby
Bill
era.
Bixby.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Bal Baxter. But it's Bill Bixby.
That is how you get around the Marvel copyright by.
Yeah.
You're like, this is the Bal Baxter line.
It's Bal Baxter, you fucking idiots. What are you doing?
Oh my God, I'm so tired. We've been working hard the last couple of days. Ooh, you can tell I'm very giggly.
And there's a couple things, and then this is related, not directly to the question, but tangential, which is I had to go out and find the people who own the publishing rights to Got You Under My Skin in order to get permission to put it in the book. That took weeks to find out who actually owned the rights to that Cole Porter song. At the time, I didn't even know it was a Cole Porter song. I thought it was a Frank Sinatra song. So the little things like that you can put in. If you write for a big publisher, you can put in very, very small snippets, quotes from movies, things like that, and then their legal department gets very fussy, very fussy.
Which is,
hey, Scotty Pond.
Sort of irrelevant, but I am a theater kid, right? I have an acting degree from college and did theater as a young person, went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And what I learned in writing a play or a screenplay, very often you as a writer will put in like, this opens with I've got you under my skin, the Cole Porter version. Yeah, none of that. None of that is up to you. None of that is up to you at all. They won't even accept it for publishing if you do that. That's not your call. That's the person who's going to put it on. And I found that so interesting.
So that we'll go back to the questions with this closing bit. So what I do now is, since I don't want to get fucking permission for anything, I just bury my favorite lines from movies in dialogue. And if anybody catches it, if anybody wants to go to the mattresses, because I quote Rage Against the Machine, they don't need the books to just remove them. Like, for example, one of my favorite lines ever in a song, they can find that shit in there and they want to sue, like I don't have enough money to make it worth your while. So
Mick J plays, absolutely. There are definitely Easter eggs, and there are a few. What's also interesting, in case you guys, I know some of you guys already know this, but he will take pieces
Brian Kane in the house. Go ahead.
Of actual real life with his friends and me, and there are little pieces and little lines that are actually things that people in his real life say. I forget who says it I think it's in Pandemic, or is it in Nocturnal, the fuck you and your fucking fuckers.
I don't know.
That's a big tip jar violation. But we have a friend named Allison who hardly ever uses curse words. I mean, hardly ever. So she goes from, dang, I wish we could have gotten, shut the front door. And then when she gets mad enough, it goes from shut the front door to fuck them and their fucking fuckers right the fuck now. And he put that in a book after watching this very genteel lady go from shut the front door to that in person. And then, of course, you guys all know that John Tweedy, there's a line that John Tweedy says that is beer, why do you hate me so?
Yep.
Which was an actual line that John Vizcarra said the morning after Friday night at Siglerfest.
Mick J, I'm jealous he saw Rage Against the Machine at Lollapalooza 4. All right, next question, Pumpkin.
Okay, there is, Sean Dyer had a question. Oops, I'm missing it. Sean Dyer had a question a little up there. Let me find it. Now that Scott's dipping his toes into the fantasy genre, what were the big three in the genre for the both of you? Lord of the Rings, Discworld, etc. I'll go first. Mine are easy. I don't have that many. My mother is a huge Lord of the Rings fan. So much so that I have a Princess Bride story about the Lord of the Rings, that when my brother and I were young, she would read us stories, but she would only read us the parts, like the interludes, that made sense. So I knew a lot about Tom Bombadil, for example, who never shows up in the movies, because that was a thing that a 6-year-old me could understand. And I pretty much knew nothing of the Two Towers, which is nation building and all that jazz, until I read it for myself, literally read the book myself in 1998. And I was a full-on adult. I was 28 years old, and I didn't realize that there was that whole second book, because when I was a kid, it didn't matter. So definitely Lord of the Rings for me. Piers Anthony's Dual World series. I can't remember what that was.
Is that the Blue Adept?
The Blue Adept.
Yeah, that's one of mine too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
And that
I hide
really,
shit from you. What are you going to do?
That really influenced me. And if you know anything, now that I know that about him, if you know anything about us, if you don't know what the Blue Adept series is, it's two different phases of the same planet, right? And one is science-based and one is magic-based. And the same things happen it's because it's one planet, but there's different explanations for it. It's very cool, I think, anyway. And then I think I loved magical realism. Thank you, magical realism. So my others are not really in your genre, but my very favorite book, pretty much for ages, was a book called A Winter's Tale by Mark Helprin, and that's magical fantasy.
Magical realism.
Magical realism. What did I say?
Mine, you said magical fantasy.
Oh, well, that's just fantasy.
Baby's been working a whole lot. We've been doing a lot of rote work. So this is like nuts and bolts programming type stuff, if you will. And we are not
operating with a full deck today.
We are not adepts at that. Thank you very much. I'm sure you will date me now after that wonderful joke. Positive.
What are your three books?
I put down the Blue Adept series, whatever that is, Piers Anthony, just because that I found that one very riveting. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, I've never followed up on it, but Anne McCaffrey, the Chronicles of Pern, all of that shit was fucking dope. And I'm sure I'm missing stuff because I did not like Lord of the Rings. I did not like The Hobbit all that much. I didn't even make it through the first book of Lord of the Rings. When they were stuck in the mountains in chest deep snow for like 47 pages, I was like, I got to go outside and play ball. I can't do this. But now Game of Thrones, the first 3 Game of Thrones books are one of the best trilogies, probably the best fantasy trilogy that I've ever come across. They respect. From there, I'm not as hip on the series where it goes from, but the first 3, magnificent. And then just Joe Abercrombie. All this entire catalog of work. I'm a big fan of Joe Abercrombie.
And I do have to say, it was sort of late. I was, I think, probably in high school. But my brother, who's Jude Stenson in the chat room, is my brother. But my brother was a big, big fan of the Belgariad, and hipped me to that. And that was quite, I think I might have even been in high school when I read that for the first time, and he really enjoyed that. And so that's really fun too. And there's this great piece of the Belgariad, I think Dave Eddings wrote it, when there's a whole book called, which is not in the Belgariad, which is only a trilogy, the 4th or 5th book is called the Riven Codex, which is, he gives you the rules that he followed to write a high fantasy novel. And it's fantastic. It's, if you want to write this book, you have to have these relationships. You have to do this thing. And it was really, really interesting to have read those, plus The Lord of the Rings, plus Game of Thrones, things like that, or Discworld, whatever, and see that imprint on all of it. So it's super easy reading. I would encourage you, if you're interested, to at least read the first book and then the Riven Codex if the first book doesn't thrill you.
Okay, let's go to next question, man.
Okay, do we have... Let me take a quick look.
I didn't see
here.
any in the chat. You get one from there. I'll scope
Okay,
the
cool.
chat in case we missed anything. This is riveting television from Scott and Ariella.
Okay, so I've got a couple
Rich
of...
Rich Hosek is just mean. He's just a mean person. He's so mean. So
What did he
mean.
say?
He insulted the way I sang "I Got You Under My Skin."
Joseph Stronger.
I've got you under my skin.
Joseph,
You know who you are. Yes, go ahead.
Joseph
Sorry.
Stronger asks if you ever switch formats, go from gardener to architect or architect to gardener in the middle of a series.
Gardner being the person who just writes a chapter and then sees where the next chapter goes and figures out which character is dope and goes. So the gardener is in, you plant seeds and follow the vines where they go. Architect being the person who outlines the entire story before they begin writing, which is akin to putting on the foundation, putting the framework, then gradually putting in the electrical, plumbing, drywall.
Life comes after framework instead of...
Life, yeah. So it's... I was trying to be a gardener with Slay, the one you guys were so kind of tune into every week. And it's really hard for me. It's really, really hard for me to just write and see where it goes, because I am such an architect-based writer that as I write a character, my brain, I'm gardening, I write a character, my brain immediately starts to lay out, like you ever see a computer chip back in the day when you actually see where the little paths were going, the paths of, what is that when electricity goes through something? Conductive. The paths of conductive wire.
Yeah.
Like that's my brain immediately starts mapping that out. So it goes out here, 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 and then it's going to come back here in the big conclusion. So I'm not really capable of being a gardener at this point. I do have a plan for a fantasy series that we're not going to talk about right now. But A has said, I was going to write that for this instead of Slay. I was going to write this series. And A's like, that. She already knows that eventually when I write this fantasy series, I believe this will be my legacy. Like the GFL and then this series I'm going to write, because it's got some different aspects to it. But I can't. If I write that as a gardener, it's going to be all over the place. It's got to be as an architect. So that is the answer to that question. Next question.
So I'm looking. I think there's not a lot in there. What do you think your greatest weakness as a writer is?
Oh, wait. This is like being back in the days of job interviews. My greatest weakness, I would say that I'm just too committed.
Earnest.
I'm too committed to the story, and I
can't put it down until the job is done.
I can't. If I find a mistake, I gotta go back. I gotta go back and I gotta fix that mistake. You know what? Hey, sue me. What can I say? That's just who I am. It's not perfect, but it's me.
All right, that I totally deserve that. I did try to add as a writer,
What was the question again? I forgot. I was being a smartass.
As a writer, what is the weakness that you see in your approach to write?
The weakness in my writing is the ADHD which is also the power of my writing. But
It's a
this is
perfect
why
answer.
this is why I have wikis. I've got the Siglerpedia, which you guys can go read. Siglerpedia, that's scottsigler.com. But I also have a secret agent wiki that only John Viscara and A and me and
And
Chris
the
Kral and
the
Harvey
military.
and the military people can see, where we do all, as I'm writing, like Slay's already got like 50 pages in this wiki, and no, you can't see it yet, not till the book is out.
Although to be fair, sometimes John, our continuity czar, also takes control of shifting some of the stuff that was private knowledge to the public wiki. So
Yeah.
you do see it
We
eventually.
go through that. You will see it eventually. But I need to do that to keep track of everything. So my biggest weakness is I want to write these sprawling, engrossing, thriller plot style based stories, so that when you guys get to the end of the book, all of these different elements come together and you remember all the elements and you're absolutely blown away at how the keys fit into the various locks at the end. That is very difficult for me because I can't track all the details just walking around in my head. So everything has to be written down. Everything has to be tracked. I have to get help. I got John Viscara to help me. The biggest weakness is I can't, by myself, in my head, do the stuff that I want to create. So I have to come up with coping strategies and mechanisms for that.
Yeah, and I think the part of that where you said, it's also my biggest strength. I think that's entirely true because often you get the questions about, what do you do to deal with writer's block? And you're like, bro, that's not my problem.
Yeah. I have the opposite
And
of writer's
so
block.
that it's your biggest blessing and your biggest curse, I think, is absolutely right.
Lightning round. Let's see. Nyoka says, let me go to the chat room.
Nico?
Nico
Davies?
No, not Nyoka Wilson.
Oh, okay.
Did you choose to do the narration for the books, all the GFL books? Yes, we choose that. That's too much work to have somebody else go do it, and they're just never going to do it right in my brain. So I do all of those. We made a conscious choice to get other pro narrators to start reading my work, so I have more time to actually create the work. And we do choose those narrators when we have the option to.
And I'll just add, at the beginning of his career, Scott chose to do his narration because that was what he could afford and could get done because he had a full-time job. So he would write in the mornings and the evenings and record on the weekends. And that's how he got that first book
Sean
done.
Dyer asks, which of my short stories do I think I'd enjoy being able to expand in a trilogy? All of them. Steve Rickyberg asks, how does it feel being the most second awesome person in the household? I'm used to it. I would say I'm actually a distant number 4 behind A and Squeaky and Reese. Scott from Scott Pond. We like your style, Mr. Sigley. We want to hire you. How does exposure work in lieu of money? At this point, not a chance. But back in the day, I would have been all over that like a bum on a bologna sandwich. Nico says, how do you know that your you do know that your dialogue skills, while never professionally poor, have progressed as stellar, right? Thank you. I believe that is one of the areas I have grown in considerably over the past 15 years. Is I think my dialogue is really strong, and I'm much better at conveying world building and character building and all of that through just straight dialogue. Probably because I focus on that because I'm so influenced by movies, far more so than books. I'm way more influenced by movies in my book writing than I am by any other books. And, you got people like Scorsese and Quentin Tarantino and all these other wonderful screenwriters out there that just from one line or two lines, so much about a character from dialogue. So yes, I'm trying to get better. Peter Lightning asks, is there going to be a sequel to Ancestor? God, I hope I live long enough to pull that shit off. It's called Descendant. I know exactly what's going to happen. Just haven't had a chance to get to it.
Fun fact.
Daniel Baker. Go ahead, babe.
Fun fact, every single family dinner that we have at my mother's house, where we are sitting around the kitchen table or the dining room table, the formal table, having a formal holiday meal like Easter or Christmas or Thanksgiving, my mother asks about the creatures left on Black Manitou. Every single time she asks about a sequel. So I think he might give it up just so that he gets in less trouble at my parents' house.
I get even. My mother-in-law loves little seasonal knickknacks, so there'll be little stuffed turkeys and little Christmas things. And
it's true.
Every time I go over there, I take like half of them and hide them in places around the house. It's very, very funny. I'm glad she's not watching tonight because I always deny this. Going back to the questions, Dr. Daniel Baker says, I am the key holder. Are you the gatekeeper? You don't want that heat, son. You do not want that heat. Modine, very good, responds with, no, but I am a god. And I would like to point this out. I've been having this lecture with my incredible, awesome wife that people will compliment her on a thing, including me, and she'll immediately be self-effacing, say, well, that's not really that big of a thing. So now we have this regular conversation.
And
I say that, honey, when people ask you of a God, if you are a God, what do you say?
these are orange pants.
No. No, you say yes.
Yes.
When people ask you for God, you say
The reason I
yes.
said the thing that I say is I have pajamas that are black and orange checked. The pants look just like this, how I don't get there, just like that. And they are kind of I purchased them as just normal buffalo plaid, which is black and red. But they do look quite orange. So every time I wear them, he's like, are those orange and black pants?
Did you wear
And I'm
those orange and black pants just for me?
I
Yes.
am a god.
And she's like, no, well, it's technically not orange. I'm like, let me ask again. Did you wear those orange and black pants just for your spouse? And she now is familiar with saying yes.
So Martin Evans says, I just heard that they wrote a 400-page series Bible for the underwater people in Wakanda Forever. What was your largest show/character Bible?
That would be 84 pages, single-spaced. I'm sure theirs was double-spaced. I would like to think that it was. Also, we don't really have Marvel money to hire people to write this stuff. 84 pages for Nocturnal, the series pitch for Nocturnal, which, after all this time, we are still working on, still trying to figure out what we can do to bring that to life. But it's sick, bro. It is a sickly detailed, there's so much detail in the TV show Bible that I wrote that if I ever do get around to writing the Nocturnal book 2, 3, and 4 in the prequel, it's all covered. It's all covered, and it's, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be very modest. It's fucking sick. It's fucking sick. All right. James. Read James' question.
Yeah, I think that'll be the last one.
Okay. Read it.
Oh, I know all of your books are set in the same universe, just at different times. But if you could make it real and live in one of your series, which one would it be?
Live in one of those series. It's got to be the GFL at this point.
Yeah.
Because the GFL, in most of my series, if I was to live in that era or in that space, I am under severe threat of death and or dismemberment, and at the very least, consolation prize, extensive bodily damage and pain. GFL, I would just fucking get on spaceships and go to football games. So
I was going to say, that is also true of many people in the GFL. But
I didn't say I was going to be in the GFL. I'm going to go watch the GFL.
Fair. I would also go watch the GFL, but I would definitely ingratiate myself to the Tweedy family.
I'll tell you the era I don't want to be in. It's the fucking crypt.
Yeah,
I don't
me
want to be
neither.
in the crypt. I don't
Me
think
neither.
anybody wants to be in the crypt. Book 1 is awful. Awful things happen to people. If you think it's awful, fuck you. But awful things happen to people, and it just gets worse and worse and worse from there. It's up 4X. He would go watch Pete. Oh, Poughkeepsie
Pete.
Yeah, well, that's part of the GFL. I would get to go watch, genetically engineered ancient dinosaurs battle against giant, mega prehistoric fauna from other worlds, and that's a hard bit of entertainment to beat, bro. That's real hard.
Brian Kane asked, and then we'll hop out.
All right.
Would we want the GFL to be animated or live action? And
Animated.
I think
Animated. Live action, the cost to produce that movie for live action is so astronomically high. It's like Marvel money and then some, I'm pretty sure. Because there's so many different creatures that all have to be mapped out and ambulate correctly and all these things. But as a anime or a computer generated, it would be amazing. You could do all kinds of, so that is the answer.
I would amend this to say we would take either, but we think the most likely is animated. And that's it for us for tonight, I think.
Yeah,
so
I think
you
so.
guys, we are cooking up a whole bunch of fun stuff for you guys. He's working really hard on Slay, as you guys already know. He's also starting another book that we can't talk about publicly quite yet.
Yep.
In the other days of the week, and we've got a few fun things coming. But we are going to take a few days off this weekend, celebrate High Holy Day of
Celebrate the
Siglerism,
Holy Day of Siglerism, the Super Bowl. I hope you all get a chance to watch Super Bowl with friends and or family, or find someone to watch, or go online, or go if you don't have friends or family and you're like, man, good, I can't watch the Super Bowl with anybody. Yes, you can. Go to a bar, hang out, watch it, and embrace the energy that is the most holy day in the world.
And I will say one of our favorite emails that we get, and we get them in a flurry at the end of November every year. We get probably 25 to 50 people saying, oh my God, I've always never been able to talk about football with my family at Thanksgiving. And they've always poked fun at me. But then I was like, oh, that was a touchback. And all I had to say was one thing that I learned from the GFL, and now I'm in with my clan. So if you don't think you understand football enough to watch it, you're probably wrong.
Aha! While you're watching the Super Bowl, ladies and gentlemen, please remember that the PUV James Keeling, the crypt, runs from the back of the Chiefs end zone to the front or the back of the Eagles end zone. That is how long the ship you guys are going to be watching is. And you're going to look at that and you go, oh my God, that's so big. It's not a very big warship. Warships are goddamn giant.
So as ever, if you have any need of us or anything to tell us, you email that to info@emptyset. We'll take pictures for Sigler in Place. We'll take any other concerns that you have. We'll obviously take anything about the any of your shipping or anything like that.
Forex, just yell, fill the hole for no,
For no reason.
On every play of football, you can scream, fill the hole as loud as you possibly can. And here's the two things will happen. The people who don't know football will think you're crazy. The people who do know football will be like, what does he see? What does he see? He sees something. What does he see I'm not seeing? That is all for this tonight. We'll be back on February 15th for Slay Part 9er.
And of course, we're switching it up because things have changed. So I want you to stay smart.
I want you to stay science.
And for the love of science, we want you to stay informed.
And in the chat room, Sean Dyer says 377 feet for a Virginia-class submarine. Currently, anyways, Virginia-class submarine is what the PB James Keeling is based on. It's modeled after a World War II submarine, but size-wise, it's a Virginia-class submarine. So enjoy yourself. All right.
That's it for this week. We will be back next week, as Scott said. We hope to see you all there. Thank you guys for spending so much time with us. We're so glad you're still here as things change around the world with the COVID epidemic.
And
pandemic.
the number 4 most awesome person in this house and the number 1 most awesome person in this house. Wish you a very happy weekend. Try and watch Super Bowl if you can. Relax, enjoy yourself. We love you. And
remember, this Super Bowl is the first Super Bowl that has the closest thing to the Tweety brothers and Ma Tweety.
Oh yeah,
with the Kelsey brothers.
The Ma Kelsey will be wearing jerseys or coat or whatever, which is half Eagles, half Chiefs, because she has a son.
One of each. And she did a TV interview today. It was glorious. You can look it up. It's easy to find, where they were like, what happens in your house? And she actually addresses. She's like, somebody's going to go home heartbroken, but we're a football family, right?
Yeah.
So the one who goes home heartbroken
she will laugh
be
at them.
really, really...
She will point at them and laugh at them,
what
call them a failure.
What she actually said was, one will be heartbroken, but very proud of his brother, which is a beautiful, very Tweety thing to say.
Yeah, it's a very, very lovely. All right, you're both going to do so well. All right, here we go. That's it. Screw you guys. We're out of here. And you can all kiss up in the sky.